So it's becoming very clear that Manchester United are going to sign a centre-back in 2024, and we know that Ten Hag wants 2 centre-backs, and it's looking like it could be 2 centre-backs. Lots of reports have come out about Manchester United's centre-back hunt, with them looking at Inácio and Antonio Silva, but they're not even the only names that United have been linked to. Now, those 2 centre-backs would be the dream. They would be 2 amazingly brilliant perfect signings for Manchester United. But there are 6 names on Manchester United's shortlist, all aged between 19 and 24. And I did a summary of this on Twitter. All the players were linked to and explained to their strengths, their weaknesses, their age, their estimated price, and all about them. And I said that I liked all the players we were linked to. And someone on Twitter said, Alice, make this into a video. And you know what? For you, I'm making this into a video. We're going to look at Manchester United's 6 key centre-back targets, break them down, strengths, weaknesses. Who do I think would be the best? Who would I think would be the worst? And do a bit of analysis on it. Now, I'm not some tactico. I don't watch crazy amounts of football, but I've watched a lot of these players play, some of them more than others. I've looked at statistics, all of the basics, and I've done a general analysis on these players. And the first guy I want to talk about is Inácio. He's the only left centre-back on the list, although one of the other players on the list can easily play left centre-back. He's so two-footed, but he's one of the names we've been recently linked to. Now, I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he's a fantastic player. But I would say he wouldn't be my priority as the first centre-back because he's not right-footed and we need a Varane replacement. He would be my ideal second choice. Now, before I even get into the list of 6 centre-backs and analysis on them, basically the key thing is Lindelof is not seen as someone that's good enough to start regularly for United. Johnny Evans will be moved on. Ten Hag doesn't really rate Maguire. Varane is always injured and Manchester United were looking for a long-term replacement for Varane last summer, or at least Erik Ten Hag was. And Martinez has injury problems. So United ideally want someone to come in and replace Varane. That's the first centre-back. And then they ideally want a second centre-back that can do Martinez's role and almost be a Maguire replacement, which I think Inácio would be. I think if he was the only centre-back we signed, I wouldn't say I'd be disappointed because I think he's a fantastic player. But he is obviously a, left-footed centre-back. But he would be like a Nathan Ake signing. I think he would be a really good second centre-back signing on top of a Todibo, on top of an Antonio Silva, because he is very Nathan Ake-like. He can play as a left centre-back. He can play as a central centre-back. He can play in a back 3, back 4. He mostly plays in a back 5 for Sporting Lisbon, and he's been very good this season. This is obviously his SOFA score, giving a summary. 22 years of age, very, very young, lots of experience, plays for Portugal, played 8 games this season. And these are just his general stats, although that's not really what matters about him. We're going to talk about Inácio first, then we're going to get to Todibo, Antonio Silva, and the other players we've been linked with. So what about Inácio have I written about, really? So as I said, be a good replacement for Martinez's injury crisis. Can play back 3, back 5, back 4, whatever you want to call it, left centre-back. He can even play central centre-back in a back 3 or left back. He would be, I think, a Nathan Ake kind of signing for United. Really good for depth, can play anywhere on the left-hand side. But what he's really good at is basically carrying the ball forward, passing the ball out from the back. Every single defender that Manchester United have been linked with are defenders that are good in possession, defenders that are good at build-up, breaking lines, because Ten Hag wants to turn Man United into a possession-dominant side. We can't do that at the moment because we don't have those kind of players in possession, and that's why we're kind of playing this counter-attacky football, because Ten Hag is kind of not being able to play the football he wants because he doesn't have possession-dominated players. Now, this guy is very good. He's not quite 6'4" or anything massive, but I think he does quite well aerially. I think he can defend the wide area as well, which is something we've been struggling with, letting in the silliest crosses. And I think he's a really good player. He would be in that sort of £50 million price range. I reckon you can get him for 45 million. And considering that all the players that we buy from Sporting end up doing quite well, I quite like it when we buy a player from Sporting. Now, his main attribute is probably progressiveness. Really good at getting the ball, playing it forward. Every time he gets the ball, he plays it forward. And one of the things that he does have that's particularly special is he can just pass the ball so well. Long, short, long, short. And this Liverpool account's done me a favour because they actually compared him to other defenders in the league. I think they used Data MP and they compared him to other defenders in the league like Guardiola and Mickey van der Ven to highlight how good he is. But if I was to describe him, I'd say every time he gets the ball, he can play it short, he can play it long. He's really good at passing. He's really good at playing out from the back. And he can be someone that can dictate play from the back, give us a little bit more control, which is something we need. And obviously, he's such a young defender. So to have that skill set at such a young age makes him brilliant. So I'm going to go and show you these stats. And I've just realized this video could be really, really long. And I'm doing it in one take. So we'll go for it. But this is his stats versus Guardiol's stats. And if I make myself a little bit smaller here so you can see this, you can see that actually compared to Guardiol, who's, 21 years of age, who's just a little bit younger than him, but he's gone to Man City for a lot of money, there's not much in their passing stats, their forward passing stats. There's really not many things in those stats. In fact, progressive runs and aerials, he actually ranks higher than Guardiol. The only way Guardiol just beats him is things like defensive actions. So as you can see, this is Man City's big Guardiol signing. He pretty much beats him out. And he also compared him to Mickey van der Ven, who was the big signing for Spurs. Well, I wouldn't say he wasn't that expensive, but it was Spurs' centre-back signing. And you can see Inácio is in the pink. Van der Ven, who's been fantastic for Spurs, is in the blue. And you can just see here on the screen, again, passes completed much higher than Mickey van der Ven. Forward passes higher. Forward passing accuracy a lot higher as well. Like, you can just see how good he is on the ball. And then he gets beaten out a little bit in things like aerials and sort of defensive actions again. But like, as said, it's so close by that he's very good defensively, but his ability on the ball is insane. Now, I'd be a big fan of us signing Inácio, but I've always said with this guy, for me, United have to sign another centre-back on top of him. He can't be the only centre-back that Manchester United go out there and sign. Now, obviously, a player that we almost signed and Ten Hag wanted us to sign is Todibo. And I think Todibo would be one of the best options out there for United in terms of value for money. He'll be around 35 to 40 million pounds. If we can get Todibo in January and Inácio in the summer, or we can get Inácio and Silva in the summer, or Diomande and Inácio in the summer, I don't think that would happen because they're both at Sporting. That would be brilliant. Now, Everyday MUFC highlighted Todibo, and what we know about Todibo, and I've done loads of videos on him, is he's a brilliant passer of the ball. He has a really wide range of passing, as said, with fantastic retention across all types. Nice to play high volume passing and build up. Todibo at the heart of this, playing short passes around the press, line breaking progressions and switch to evade. Again, every centre-back on this list is good at passing, but as you can see with Todibo's stats here, he ranks in the 87th percentile for passes completed, passes attempted, progressive passes, he's in the 90s, passing distances in the 90s. Again, a player that's very comfortable in possession, a player that's very comfortable on the ball, and a player that's able to play passes into the final third. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter going around a little bit, but Todibo actually had 180 touches in one game, and it kind of went on Twitter, his performance for Nice the other day. Now, if I was to sum up Todibo for you, he's elite at progressing the ball forward, really good at carrying the ball forward, can defend the wide channels. What Todibo has at age 23 that stands out for me is I think he could actually fill in a right back if needed. He can really give that cover to the right side of the defence, help out Dalot defensively, allow Dalot to push forward because he can defend the wide channels well. He's very comfortable in a high line defence. United could play a high line with him. He's very good in build up. He's very press resistant. Again, he likes to carry the ball forward. And I think an estimated price of 40 million, I think value for money, Todibo could be one of the best options out there. Now, my number one option, which I'm about to get into, is Antonio Silva. But value for money, I think Todibo's another great option because, again, things just like the basic skills that you want in a defender in the modern game, being able to progress the ball forward, being able to keep the ball well, be press resistant, be defensively aware, be positionally aware, be able to defend a high line. If Ten Hag wants to play this modern style of football that he obviously wants to play in the future, he's got that as well. So I'm a massive fan of Todibo. But who is Alice's dream centre-back signing, people? Who is the player that Alice wants at centre-back more than anyone else? And that is Antonio Silva, in all honesty to you. I think Antonio Silva is just absolutely fantastic. And I think Ethan did a really good summary about the player the other day. Now, he was talking about Antonio Silva's recent performance versus, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that Portuguese name, how he obviously got the goals and stuff as well. But this is what Ethan said about him, and then I'm going to say what I said about him. Ethan said this about Antonio Silva: I place him on the higher tier to any under 21 centre-back on the planet for special characteristics like his acclimatization. I can't say that word, but you know what I mean. To pressure and ability to lead Benfica backline at just 19 years of old. The youngest ever player to play for Portugal at the World Cup, walked into the Benfica team at 18 years of age in the midst of an injury crisis and quickly established himself as their best centre-back. Countless fantastic displays in big games, including Porto this season or PSG last season. Benfica went far in the UCL. He has shown he's absolutely no issue, irrespective of the stage, no matter the oppositional situation. Nerves are still composure personified. Exactly. Basically saying this guy at 18 years of age walked into a Benfica side, went to the World Cup, went to the UCL, so young, dealt with it, nerves are still. The mentality, the attitude. First of all, with Antonio Silva, you've got a future captain as well. And that's what set him apart, says Ethan. All elite centre-backs are comfortable in possession and can defend a high line, which is obviously Antonio Silva. He's got all the attributes elite centre-backs have. But he just has certain things that make him very different to other elite centre backs. To be 19 years of age and be that good on the ball, to have that kind of mentality to be this good at 19 makes him elite. And I'm a massive fan of Antonio Silva. He would be my first choice, I think, centre back for United, because as said, he's got so much experience at such a young age already, but he's crucial for Benfica in build-up. Benfica are a very possession-dominant side. I've watched a lot of Benfica because I think they're enjoyable to watch, and they love to have a lot of possession. And Ten Hag wants our team to be more comfortable in possession. He wants to be a more possession-based team. And when you've got players like Antonio Silva that are good at defending with lots of possession, good on the ball, great passer, press resistance, can carry the ball forward, likes to pretty much control the game from deep, and all of that stuff, he ticks all the boxes that Ten Hag will want in the future. The thing is, €100 million release clause, he would be around £80 million. And that's the thing. If the Glazers in charge, do I think we're going to spend £80 million on the centre-back? I don't know. But he's absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people have been debating recently, should United go for Antonio Silva or Ousmane Diomande? I think Antonio Silva right now was better, but I think Diomande has a higher ceiling. But I just think when I look at Antonio Silva for a 19-year-old, able to defend wide areas, able to defend well. I think defensively, he's probably better than Diomande. He seems to have good timing. He seems to make tackles that are well. Seems to show that he has a good understanding of the game. I think he can replay well. I think he positions himself well, has a lot of good position awareness. And, for me, defensively, he looks brilliant. From what I've watched of him, from what I've seen of him defensively, he looks brilliant. And we know on the ball, he's fantastic. All the centre-backs we're looking at are really good in possession, but there's always questions about how good are they out of possession and all of that as well. And obviously, this guy is probably one of the best progressors of the ball, especially for Benfica. We see it a lot because obviously they dominate possession, but he can break lines so well. I'd say the only downside of Antonio Silva is maybe he's physically in the air, winning duels and stuff. Not his best strong suit. So would he partner Martinez well in terms of a physical partnership? You could say in the air. Would we get caught out on set pieces? Maybe, just because of size and stuff. But I actually think out of all the centre-backs we're linked to in terms of off the ball, the way he moves, his defensive qualities, he'd probably suit Martinez the best as well. I think he could be the right centre-back to go alongside Lisandro Martinez, and they'd contribute each other quite well. I actually think he'd be better than Diomande in a partnership with Martinez. And we're going to get into Diomande in a second, because I think Diomande is the player that all the big clubs are sort of being linked to. Everyone kind of wants, because he's been a special player for Sporting Lisbon this summer. But I think Antonio Silva would be my first choice centre-back, because he just looks so good, like on the ball, off the ball, so defensively aware. And as I said, like his mentality, his personality for 19 years of age is absolutely crazy. So let's talk about the fourth centre-back on this list, Ousmane Diomande. Again, Diomande is just like Antonio Silva. He is 19 years of age, and he is at Sporting Lisbon. Obviously, I've not seen as much as him, as he wasn't really at Sporting last year. But he was a player that Arsenal almost signed. He's a player that's been really good, and I will show you his SOFA score. And the SOFA score stats don't really mean much, but as you can see, the basics of Diomande here, 19 years of age, pretty tall. His athleticism is very good. Go away. And obviously been pretty good for Sporting the most part. Obviously used to defending in a back sort of 3, back sort of 5, but I think Diomande is a solid centre-back. Now, I think he could probably be better than Silva on the ball. I think in terms of athleticism, I think Diomande has probably got the highest levels. He's fast, he's physical, he's got power, he's got strength. At 19 years of age, he looks like he's going to be hard to beat. I think his ability on the ball to dictate play, to be so comfortable in possession, be press resistant, carry ball, press the ball forward, break the lines. Again, I think Diomande is fantastic. I do think sometimes, positionally wise, at 19 years of age, a little defensively, sometimes off the ball, he looks a bit vulnerable, sort of defensively. But I think that just comes with age and learning the game. And I think maybe defensively, Silva's probably better, but I think on the ball, maybe Diomande's kind of better. But I think this guy is crazy. Ousmane Diomande is probably seen as the next big centre back, and he's got about an estimated price of £70 million, and he's been linked to a lot of clubs. And out of all the players we've been linked to, Diomande hasn't been massively linked to United. They seem to be looking more at Silva and Inácio, but this guy, his physicalness, his athleticism is unreal. His ability on the ball is unreal. And I generally think at his current age, he might be one of the best players on the ball. And I think his ceiling could be the highest out of everybody on this list as well. But for me, his ball progression is crazy. His passing ability, I think, is 99th percentile. I think he averages nearly 7 progressive passes per 90 minutes, which shows how good he is as well. He loves to get the ball forward. He likes to initiate attack. He's one of those defenders that likes to attack. He can start attacks as well. And I think that is something that is special in itself. And I think in terms of potential, this guy could be the very best, or at least the very best ball playing centre back. But I think defensively, there's some attributes he needs to improve on. But because he's got that versatility, because he's got that physicalness, he's tall, he's fast, he can just adapt, he can learn, he can grow. And I think in terms of the ceiling, Diomande has the potential to be the best out of all these players. Even though Antonio Silva's my first choice, just because he's got a bit more experience for sort of national level and Benfica and all of that as well. But he looks like an unbelievable player. Now, another player that I think is probably a bit underrated because he's the English player. I think it's kind of seen as the boring signing, but the fifth centre-back is Jarrad Branthwaite, the Everton player, 21 years of age, was really good in the Euros for England, been the youth Euros for England, has been really good. And the thing he has is he's Premier League proven. Now, I do see this guy as more of a Maguire replacement than a Varane replacement, in all honesty. He's 6'4", and I think Man United do need a bit more height in the side. I think, we do seem to be smaller than other sides, and he is aerially brilliant. He is good on the ball, but I think out of all the players I've spoken about, he's probably the least good on the ball, if you get what I mean. Like, he's definitely good on the ball, but we spoke about a lot of players in this video, and he's probably the one that's least comfortable on the ball. But he's very comfortable one-on-one. He's probably one of the best players on this list in terms of defending, his general defensive stats, like not being on the ball. Obviously, he has to defend a lot more for Everton, but he's very good in those wide areas, and he's very good 1v1, and he's, he doesn't let opponents beat him very often. But what I like about him is he's two-footed, so he could either play left centre-back or right centre-back pretty comfortably. And I think he's one of those players where, for me, we've got to sign Antonio Silva or Diomande as that right centre-back, as that main centre-back. And then if you can get in Inácio or Braithwaite as well on top of that, that would be brilliant. He wouldn't be my first choice, but he would be a very good second option, because I think he could be a good Maguire replacement, because he can play left centre-back, right centre-back. He's physical, he's Premier League proven. I think because he's English, he will be in that £50 million mark. You know what English players are like. They are always heavily overpriced. I wouldn't say he was overrated, but I think because he's English, he will just have that general overpricing. But he's definitely one to keep an eye on. And every single player on this list, I would tell you the transfer news about them, but every single player on this list, we've been actively scouting as well. And I don't know if you can see him there, but he's right in the middle, up nearer the top, with a kanji there in terms of like aerial duels 1. He's nearer the top at around 60%, but it's actually defensive duels 1, where he's right at the top there, with very good company in there. Obviously, Varane is at a different level here, you can see, and I think Varane is so underrated. Van Dijk is over there as well, but he's in very good company there. The likes of Botman, Ake, and Akanji around him, and I think wins a lot of aerial duels, would be good on set pieces, which is something that United haven't been too good at. But we're nearly 20 minutes into filming this video. It's been a long video. I feel like I've been waffling a lot. But who is the final centre back on Manchester United's list? And that is Tapsoba. Now, we actually were linked to this guy 2 seasons ago, maybe, and I definitely think he's a good centre-back, but I do think he could be a little bit pricey just because he signed a new contract with Bayer Leverkusen. So I actually wrote a bit about him here. I said he's 24, he's having an outstanding season with Leverkusen, and out of all the centre-backs we're looking at, he is the most experienced. Just like other players on the list, he's excellent at breaking lines, really good at contributing and build-up. However, I do think he's a bit rash defensively at times, and he's not my ideal choice, and I do think 60 million, he would be a bit pricey because of a new contract, but he is the 6th name we're looking at. So this was sort of me expanding on this tweet. Antonio Silva is one of the names we're looking at. He seems to be the most heavily linked, 19-year-old phenomenal player. Todibo is probably the second most heavily linked because we almost brought him in the summer. Diomande isn't as heavily linked, but he's been absolutely fantastic for Sporting, and out of all the players on this list, has the highest ceiling. Inácio has been recently linked by very credible sources like Romano, could be an Nathan Ake type signing. Branthwaite is an Everton player that, again, has been linked by many sources for a while, even in the summer. United clearly looking at him. I think he would be a second choice centre-back in terms of we'd sign one centre-back and then we'd look to bring him alongside. And, of course, Tapsoba of Bayer Leverkusen, who, again, we haven't been linked to as much. I kind of did this in order of who we've been linked to the most, although I needed to swap Inácio with Diomande round, in all honesty. But as I said here at the bottom, I like all the names we're linked to, but personally, I get Silva followed by Inácio. Now, again, this is more of a rough video, me talking about the centre-backs, because I had quite a lot to say in quite a short period. Me just talking about the 6 centre-backs that United are looking at, who I think would be the best, who I think would be the least best. So maybe I'll do, like, if we actually get really strongly linked to 1 or 2 players near at the time, maybe I'll actually do a proper analysis video. But I can't show you clips of these players or anything because I'd get in trouble with YouTube copyright. So it's just me kind of talking about these players, giving a brief overview. And it might be repetitive, like this guy's good on the ball, this guy's good at breaking lines, this guy's good in possession. But that's what Ten Hag wants in the centre-backs. He wants centre-backs that are comfortable in possession as well. Anyway, please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you for watching. Share the video. See you next time. Bye. If the video wants to end.